It had been raining all night in downtown Chicago, the kind of cold, endless rain that seeps into your bones. Inside Eddie's 24-hour diner, the neon lights flickered against greasy windows, the air thick with the smell of burnt coffee and tired dreams. Then the door creaked open and a soaked man stepped inside, his clothes torn, his shoes squishing with every step. His name was Daniel Harper, once a man of wealth, power, and respect, now just another forgotten face in the city. Behind the counter, Tiffany, the waitress, glanced up from her phone, unimpressed. "Sir, we're closing soon," she said flatly. "Just a cup of coffee, please. I can pay," Daniel replied softly. Tiffany smirked, muttering, "Sure you can." She poured the coffee carelessly, spilling some on the counter. "Don't take too long," she added. Daniel nodded, wrapping his trembling hands around the cup as the rain drummed against the glass. At the next table, two waitresses whispered and laughed. "He probably just wants to stay dry," one said. Their laughter hung in the air like smoke. Moments later, the door swung open again. A group of businessmen entered, loud and confident. Tiffany's tone changed instantly, sweet, polite, cheerful. "Welcome, gentlemen," she said brightly. They ordered with ease, cracking jokes, but one of them glanced at Daniel and whispered, "Look at that guy. Probably hasn't worked a day in years." They all laughed, but one man suddenly stopped. He stared at Daniel, his face draining of color. "Wait, are you Daniel Harper?" The diner went silent. Tiffany frowned. "Who?" The man stood slowly, his voice trembling. "Daniel Harper, founder of Harper and Lane Developments, the man who built half of this city." Tiffany froze. "That can't be," she said. "He's homeless." Daniel looked up calmly, his voice soft but steady. "Not always," he said. "Once I had more than enough. Now I have enough to know what truly matters." The businessman stepped forward and grasped his hand firmly. "Sir, my father worked for you for 15 years. You changed our family's life." Tiffany's throat tightened as guilt washed over her. Every cruel word, every judgment, suddenly it all echoed back. Daniel turned to her gently. "You thought I was nothing," he said. She stammered, "I didn't know." "I'm so sorry," Daniel nodded. "That's the problem. We rarely look close enough to see who someone really is." He reached into his worn coat pocket and pulled out a small, faded card. He placed it on the counter. "The Harper and Lane Foundation," it read. "There's a grant coming tomorrow for local workers, people like you. Maybe it'll remind everyone that kindness isn't something you give when it's convenient." Tiffany's eyes welled up. "Mr. Harper, please," she whispered. Daniel smiled faintly. "Be kind to the next person who walks in." Then he turned, pushing open the door, stepping back into the rain. The sound of the storm swallowed him as he disappeared into the night. The businessmen sat in stunned silence. Tiffany watched the door long after it closed. The next morning, the story spread across the city like wildfire. Homeless man revealed as former CEO, teaches powerful lesson in kindness. Days later, a letter arrived at the diner addressed to Tiffany. It read, "Dear Tiffany, life humbles us all eventually. You saw a man and assumed his story. I don't blame you. Most people do. But remember, respect costs nothing. And sometimes the person you dismiss is the very one sent to remind you who you are. Daniel Harper." Tiffany framed the letter and hung it near the register. From that day on, she treated every customer with dignity, no matter how they looked, no matter what they wore. Months later, she began volunteering at a homeless shelter funded by the Harper and Lane Foundation. Each time she poured a cup of coffee, she thought of Daniel, of that rain-soaked night, and the man who taught her that true wealth isn't measured by money, but by mercy. Because sometimes justice doesn't shout, it whispers. It comes through humility, grace, and truth. And in that quiet diner, one lesson still echoes. Never underestimate anyone. You never know who's sitting across from you or what they've survived to get there.